Hi everyone, it's
Hi.
Megan and Melainie here from Balanced Eating Disorder Treatment Center, and we want to talk today about weight restoration and the role that it plays in recovery. Yeah, so what does that actually mean, Melainie? Maybe you can tell us a bit about what you mean by weight restoration, or what I mean.
Sure, what you mean, Megan. I'll try and read your mind. So weight restoration, as we know. So when we're talking about weight restoration, we're usually talking about our anorexic clients, but I want to throw in there, and Megan and I were just talking about this, that when we're talking about recovery for our clients across the spectrum, from binge eating to bulimia to anorexia, we're talking about weight restoration and or consistent food intake. So if we talk about weight restoration, though, the first with respect to anorexia, because we've got a lot more research around this, we know that malnutrition, which is when you're just not taking in enough calories to sustain all of your systems. So if you're in weight loss mode, or you're not eating enough calories to maintain a weight that maybe you're genetically supposed to be at, we know that there's a high chance you are malnourished. When I tell my clients that, they freak out and they insist that they're not, but they are. And basically malnutrition from the body's perspective is viewed as a physical trauma. So if you think about it from the body's perspective of survival and how we're designed, we are designed to seek out, first and foremost, air, right? We must breathe. If you've ever been underwater for, more time than you want to be, and you're scratching for the surface, right?
Too many people.
That's a survival mechanism. Maybe when I jumped off, I don't know, a pier somewhere and the water was deeper than I thought, I'm like, oh my God, where's the surface? So air, and then we're also, our bodies are geared towards seeking out food, of course, and of course water, right? So those three basic things, if I can speak to the idea of survival. And so what we're doing by denying the body enough food or enough calories is the body's going, oh my goodness, what's going on? This is a trauma. This is dangerous. So then, of course, a whole other list of slew of mechanisms are then ignited in the body. But again, going back to this weight restoration piece for our anorexic clients, we want to treat that physical trauma. And we also know that with malnutrition, there's not just weight loss throughout the body, right? We know that on the scale, but what we forget about is kind of what's underneath. And when I say what's underneath, if we could walk through, some kind of X-ray machine where you could see all of your organs, including the brain, you would see that your heart muscle shrank. Your heart literally shrinks. Your brain shrinks. Because you're losing weight and you're losing tissue from every single part of your body, not just your thighs or your stomach or wherever you may be focused on wanting to lose weight. So, that malnutrition and that weight loss and that loss of tissue therefore affects cognition and your ability to think straight. And it affects obviously how your whole body is then just physiologically able to function.
Right, and I think something worth mentioning is just how, like you said, so many of your clients will say, oh, but I'm not underweight, I don't need to weight restore, like I have enough weight on me to be healthy. Society and media paint this image of especially how women's bodies should be, which is very much underweight for most of us.
That's right.
Or below the weight at which we should be. So really there are so many people out there who think they're just being like really healthy and fit and can't understand, why they're still preoccupied with food, or why they're still binging and purging, or why they're still, feel like they don't have any sense of control, or why they're still, struggling with their eating disorder. And it's partially because, they're keeping themselves underneath that weight restoration point for themselves.
Absolutely.
So, it's really challenging to consider, but even though some of you who might be listening might think there's absolutely no way I'm underweight, there's absolutely no way I need to weight restore, it may actually be that, the place you've been at with your weight is just a result of restriction, or is, because of the lifestyle that's like really keeping you under what you should be at.
Absolutely. And, in the very orthorexic culture that we live in, we're in New York City, and, we see this whole clean eating and healthy eating. And, on the surface, I admire that. We want to be the best versions of ourselves that we want to be. We want to take care of our bodies, etc. And that's all really good. But with anything, when you take it to an extreme, it can get, even dangerous. So, we're definitely seeing that. And with the idea of keeping your body below a normal weight, one thing, a kind of a litmus test that I like to ask my clients, well, two things actually. Number one is ask yourself, how much of my day do I spend thinking about food, calories, weight? And we know that for the average anorexic, that they're often thinking about food, calories, and weight 110, 120% of the day. And you may say, well, hang on a second, there's only 24 hours in the day, so how can you be, above 100%? The reality is that our anorexics, or people who are restricting, will often dream about food. No joke. For our bulimics, we know that the stat is probably around 85% of the day. So, if you think about this, guys, and, I'm a bit of a feminist as well, so I'm going to throw some feminist stuff in here as well. If you think about how much of our damn time and energy and headspace on a daily basis is being absorbed and tied up with something around calories and our weight, which is not even naturally attainable. It's this ideal kind of, commercial marketing image. If you think about what we could achieve and do with our energy and our brain power if we were putting it to other use, I got to tell you, it kind of makes me really mad.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
I don't want to be a bed there.
We could change the world if we stopped caring so much about dieting and our bodies. So, okay, well, that's really helpful, Melainie. And how about in terms of like the consistent eating?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how that's important.
Yeah, so if you think about for our bulimic population, what we often see there is restriction, and then an overeating episode, and usually followed by a compensatory behaviour. And by that we mean, throwing up or over-exercising or laxatives, diuretics.
And let me just jump in for one moment, Melainie. Restriction, for a lot of people, they might think of that as starving or, intentionally starving, not eating anything. But restriction can take many forms. Restriction can be a diet or a certain lifestyle a person is following where they're just not getting enough nourishment.
Absolutely.
Or waiting too long in between meals.
Yeah.
Or over-exercising, or some other, taking a stimulant or something like that.
Absolutely.
So there are many ways that a person might restrict. Sometimes it's intentional, but a lot of the time a person might think based on, the media, especially a lot with social media and what a person is supposed to eat in a day. They might think, oh no, I'm having plenty, of food. I'm eating tons.
Yes.
Did you see the size of that salad?
Yes, the salad.
Exactly.
You see all the kale?
So, again, a place where we want to be really honest and aware about what restriction actually is.
Yeah.
And it happens, way more than we even know we're doing it.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would say you're absolutely right. I think that for a number of women and guys out there, you probably don't even know or realise that you're under eating.
Yeah.
All you know is that when you go home at night, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
And you may also know, this is another litmus test, is if you go out to a restaurant and they put the bread basket in front of you, how likely are you to tackle the bread basket and feel out of control, or to protect yourself, you say, get the bread basket off of here. So that's another litmus test that tells me that you're actually not eating enough carbs and you're not eating enough calories.
Yeah.
So those are my two litmus test questions. How much of your day do you spend thinking about food, calories, and weight? And the other is the bread basket test.
Yeah, totally.
And I say that laughing because it's kind of a black humour, I guess, in a way, because I remember back in the day when I was very in my eating disorder, carbohydrates terrified me because I was under eating them and I was running crazy miles and trying to run marathons, and I wasn't nourishing my body or fueling my body for that kind of activity. And, Megan, you've disclosed about, being very much into activity and exercising, being a personal trainer and breaking into a gym one night to work out before a trip, right? Yeah. So with the obsessive exercising, not fueling enough, put the bread basket in front of you or pasta, and then you feel like you've got an addiction. But in fact, it's coming from a place of deprivation, not having enough fuel.
And tell us more, Melainie, about why carbs are important for, both recovery, but also especially for women, because, again, they're demonized. And a lot of the stuff out there in certain, nutritional philosophies says, stay away from carbs, or, follow these diets that are really just simply protein, fat heavy, and, fruit is even bad, or grains are bad. So,
that's right.
Tell us why it's important for a person to include carbohydrates in their diet.